Now I have opened the document, I set up my workspace, so how do I actually create something in Illustrator? And that is the next part. How do we create stuff? First of all, we need to take some tool that can actually create something. For instance, our rectangle tool. Let's have a deep dive into our rectangle tool. I select it, and then I just make a click and drag, and I've drawn a rectangle. I can also click and drag outside my document here, and then I have another rectangle, and then you can see it actually contains of two things. A fill color that is white and a stroke that is black. Okay, so whenever I click and drag, I draw this rectangle and my gray box is showing the size of it. What if I need to have an exact size on this one? Then I basically do not click and drag. I just click one time on my artboard, and then I have a dialog box asking me politely, how big would you like to have your rectangle? I would like to have it 20 and 60 in height, and then I say okay. Then I have this one. If I click one more time, it actually have the same numbers, because Illustrator always remembers the last things you have been doing. History. So how do I actually move around with my object then? Then I need to get off my rectangle tool, because I continuously have my rectangle creation tool in my hand as long as I click. So I need to select another tool if I want to do something else. And that is what I would like to do now. So I select my black arrow, my selection tool, and I also have a shortcut V. And with the selection tool, I can actually select whatever rectangle I have been drawing. So what do I do then? I would like to move it. I just click and drag, and then I move it. And what if I want to scale it? Then I click on the corner here, and then I just drag it, and then I have a bigger rectangle. Nice. I can also just make it slimmer. What if I would like to hold the proportions of the things I'm actually drawing here? I have this one, I would like to make it bigger, but it has the right proportions. I would like to scale it up here, but you can see that it doesn't keep my proportions. I'll just try to undo this. In my edit menu, I of course have this undo, and then also have a shortcut Control Z or Command Z. And that is very important to remember, because you would really like to undo a lot of stuff sometimes. So how do I actually keep the proportions? I actually just press down the Shift key on my keyboard, and then I click and drag, and it keeps my proportions. Oh, nice. So whenever I want to scale anything, I can keep my proportions by pressing down the Shift key all the time. So what if I was actually drawing a rectangle here and would like it to be a cube? Well, when I draw it, then before I release my cursor, then I can just press down the Shift key, and it forces it to be a square. So I can very easily make a lot of squares. Aha, nice. Then when I draw this one, I can actually also draw from the center. Now you can see I draw from my corner, and then it goes down. What if I would like to draw from the very center here? Then I press down the alternate key, and look at my cursor, it looks a bit weird. Then I just press, and then it draws from the center of my object. And if I also press Shift key, then it makes my square. Very nice indeed. So I can draw from outside my center or within my center. Nice. But what if I would like to rotate my objects? Then I can also just use my black arrow for that, because I can move them around. And when I select them, I can actually go to the corner here and then look at my bended arrow, double arrow here. And then I can just click and drag, and I rotate it. That is quite nice. I can also use my transform panel over here, where I can see the definition of this one. It's actually set up here, my width and height and rotation. And say I would like to change my width and height here, so I'll just select this one and then change it from here if I knew that I need to redo my my numbers of whatever I've been creating. And from here I can also basically give it another rotation. I can also just press in a number or rotate like 1 by 1. And I can do a lot of other stuff here. Now I have rotated here, I'll just set it back to 0. So what is this suddenly popping up here? There's a lot of stuff here going on. I select this item And if I do this, I can actually bend the corner. All the corners can be bent on my rectangle. And I have some different bends here, so I can tweak it into some weird shapes. That is nice. Whenever I scale anything, there's one more important thing. Scale strokes and effects can actually be set on as usually as a default. And if I just scale this one, suddenly my stroke will vary in size. Where do I see that? I can see that from different viewpoints. I got a viewpoint up here. It shows my stroke size here and my stroke color and my fill on my object here. But it also shows me I got a black stroke and white fill down here and over here. Same with the colors. And in appearance, I have the value information that, oh, here's my stroke. What if I take the stroke and set it to 10 points here? And then I scale this one and suddenly it's 11 something because I also scale my strokes. I turn this off and say it should be 10. And then whenever I scale my my object, then it will keep being whatever you have defined it to. And that is actually quite nice. Now I would like to delete some objects. How do I do that? I select an object and then I press delete key on my keyboard, or I select an object and press my backspace and then it will be deleted. How do I delete multiple objects? I basically just select them. How do I delete multiple objects? I basically just select them. I can select them by clicking on them, and then I want to have more than just one. So how do I select more than one? I press down the shift key and then I can click on the objects I would like to select, and then I can delete them by pressing delete. Now I accidentally also came to move them. I can also just click and drag and then select all the three. Because it's the black arrow, it will select anything. You don't need to select it like this. It's okay just to kind of hit them. It will eventually select the complete object. And then you can press the backspace or the delete key and then they are gone. I'll just move this one in and that one out, and I'll delete those one over there. I would like to have a copy of this one. I can do that by Control or Command C and then make a Command V or a Control V, and then my copy will always eventually end up in the middle of my screen. I don't need my copy in the middle of the screen. So this kind of trick copy, if kind of copy and then paste, well, they're okay, but there's another method. I'll just delete this object. I would like to have a companion to this one, so I'll just press down the alternate key. And this trick works when you have the black key, the black selection tool, the black arrow here. You press down the alternate key and then you have a double arrow coming in, and then you just click and drag, and then you release your mouse or pointing device, whatever you're using, and then your copy will be wherever you release. And then you can do multiple copies. That is way better because then you know where your copy go. You don't need it in the middle, do you? So I was also telling about the fill and stroke, and all these are kind of a white fill and black stroke. What if this one actually had nothing here? Instead of being white here, it should have nothing. I want to empty the white fill. I go into appearance here and I have a fill color that is white, and I say it needs to be none, so it has nothing. And now it's actually empty in here. So if I click in here, it's hard to select my object because it does nothing. So if I move this one into my work in here and I would like to select it, look at my arrow. When I got the black square, I can click and it's selected. Then it loses its tail and I can move it all around. What about the other one? Oh, it doesn't have any square over here because there's nothing here. I need to hit it on the stroke before I can actually select it, and then I have a risk of kind of accidentally getting into the size of it or whatever. I can also go for the middle and then I can easily move it around in this case. So it's harder to select something that doesn't have a fill color. And it can be tricky if you're working with whites because you basically got a white artboard. So, oh, I can't select this one. Why? Because there's nothing in here. Fine. Now let's put in some different colors. I have some swatches over here and I select this item and I would like to pop in a new fill color. I got a fill color down here and I select yellow. Then I choose this one. I would like this one to have a red fill color. I can go in here. I can basically just click on the red up here because the fill color is on top. I can also click here. Now the stroke color is on top. What happens then? Then it's basically the stroke color that will be changed. Look, it also changes down here and even over here and there. So I got this place, that place, up here and here, where I see whatever I got. So wherever your eyeballs are turning, you'll get the information. Then I take this one that has to have a green fill, I guess. Oh, I just accidentally double clicked here, and then I can actually make my own colors. I'll just cancel that and say it should be green. Now I got these 3 ones. I want a 4th, this one, and it has to have no stroke. Oh, that was the fill color I just erased, and then suddenly I can see through it. Oh, I would have it to be magenta. And the stroke here has to be none. So I just click that on top so I can erase it. Then I move these ones. I don't need these ones anymore, so I'll just delete them. Now we need to have a little look of arrangements. The yellow one is on top of all the other ones here. I would like the magenta to be on top of the yellow. Now I'll just take these 2 and take them out of the equation by moving them. This is below and this is on top. I want this to be on top. How do I do it? I need to arrange it. I go up in Object and then I have this Arrange button. Bring to front, bring forward, send backward, send to back. I'll try to bring forward. Then I guess it will come 1 step forward. And it will, but nothing happened. But what if I look over here? Oh, now it's actually forward. It has just passed the green one, but not the red one, because it just went 1 step forward in the creation sequence. So forward and backward is based on whenever the objects were created. So it's relative to the creation sequence. So if I want this on top and I don't know when this one is actually created, it's way easier just to say bring to front. Then it's on the very top of everything. And that's what usually people are using, bring to front or send to back. And that works all the time. So that is how you arrange items compared to each other. Yeah, now we have done a lot of this. So now I would like to zoom in. I would like to have a closer look. I take my zoom tool and then I can click and drag to the right. I zoom in. If I drag to the left, I zoom out. Drag to the right, I zoom in. Drag to the left, I zoom out. So where's my zooming point? It depends on where you place your cursor, where you're actually going toward, which object you're going towards. So now I learned that I can just kind of toss it forth and back, and that's quite nifty to do that. But now I would like to see my complete illustration in my window. How do I do that? I have my zoom percentage down here, and I can click on this one, and then I can have a lot of options, and I also have this fit on screen. The fit on screen is actually, I'll just zoom in a little bit, is also locked on my view menu up here. Fit artboard in window, and it has a shortcut. Click, and it'll always go into. So if you zoom in and look at some details here and say, oh, I'm satisfied with that, I would like to see my whole artboard now, then it's quite easy just to go in and say fit artboard in window, and you are back to square one. But usually when you're zooming in, you like to see some details around your illustration. I would like to go a little bit to the left and a little bit up. Then you can use your scroll bars, but we don't use scroll bars in Illustrator. We use our hand tool. The hand tool is just click and then drag with your cursor, and then you go all around so you can actually see where you're traveling with your hand tool here. The hand tool is very nice because whenever you're actually creating stuff, like now I'm selecting the rectangle tool and I'm doing a lot of rectangles here, and then I would like to go a little bit to the left. Then I use the shortcut for the hand tool, the kind of temporary shortcut. It's the spacebar on your keyboard, the big key. I press down my spacebar and suddenly the hand tool pops up. I release my spacebar and it goes back to whatever tool I was actually working with. So I'll just do like this, and then I can work on with my tool without changing the tool. I just temporarily have my hand tool here, and then I release it and I go back to my rectangle tool or whatever other tool I had. Now I would like to go up in my view menu to make this fit artboard in window, and I would like to show you how to create other stuff. I take my black arrow here and select all this, press delete, and now I like to make a line. Whenever I do a line, I just click and drag and it gives me a line. It's quite easy just to make all these lines, but if I press down my shift key, I can actually make it either vertical or horizontal, and I can also force it to be 45 degrees. It actually goes all around the clock here, so I can make it more straight. What if I do the other trick that I just click on my table, then I can say what is the length of my line, what is the angle. Nice. So that is how you draw lines. If I need to alter it or scale it and so on, I can basically just use my black arrow and just scale it or tilt it if I need to rework it a little bit afterwards. Now let's have a look on our ellipsis tool. It actually works the very same as with my rectangle tool. I just drag and then I release my click and then I have an ellipsis. I would like to have a little bit fill of this one, so I'll just pop in a orange, and maybe I don't want to have any stroke on it. So now I can do a lot of orange ellipses. How do I do a circle? I just press down my shift key and then I draw it. And if I press down the alt key, I draw from the middle instead of from the upper corner. And if I keep down the shift, then I can actually draw things from the middle like this. Nice. That was the ellipsis tool, and remember, if you just click one time, I have a width and a height on it too. The next tool we have in our box is the polygonal tool, the polygon tool. How does that work? It gives me this six-sided structure. So, and if I press down the shift key, it also forces it to be proper. What do I use a six-faced item for? Do I do beehives all the time or what? No, this is basically a tool where you can actually work with how many sides you would like to have on this one. You can basically go down to 3 sides as I did with a shortcut here. So you can do some triangular stuff. Nice. So how does it work? Click one time in the table and then you can see how many sides do you want. I would like 7 sides. Radius, I would like it to be 20. Then I say okay, and it'll be like this one. I can use shortcuts for this one. I can use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and then it gives more or less sides if I press arrow up or arrow down. And that's just how it goes. So now I know how to do triangular shapes and just shapes with a lot of sides. That is why we have this polygon tool here. That was basically that. And that's how we do with the basic shape builder things in Illustrator.